I just left the home of music industry legend Sid Bernstein. Sid is one of the people who helped start the British music invasion by bringing to America the Beatles. First at Carnegie Hall, and again at Shea Stadium in 1966. Thanks for the interview, Sid, and we'll let you know when we post it. Anyway, got a full schedule today and had to hurry off to the Dumbo section of Brooklyn to meet up with Scott Hopkins, who was going to show me some of the hot music rooms in the area.
We're coming down here. This is 20 J Street that we're passing by. There's tons of artist studios and music, little recording studios in like every nook and cranny.
As it turned out, when I got to Scott's studio, a friend of his, Kirk Sabalas, a young music agent, happened to be there. Since we both had an understanding of the agency business, I asked if he would be willing to do an interview right then and there without any script. He agreed.
I do some rock acts, and I've worked with rock acts in the past and managed a few rock bands and things like that. And then I have a crossover pop rock act by the name of Krista on J Records, who she just got off tour with Kelly Clarkson. We had her on tour for the summer. Okay. So I do a mixture, some rock, but the bulk of my clients are a lot of hip hop and urban artists that I work with.
And the office is located in Germany and then areas like that in Europe?
The German office is basically responsible for everything that happens in Europe, Eastern Europe, and some parts of Africa and the Middle East. I'm responsible for North America, South America, and Canada.
How's business?
It's going pretty well. Currently have Fat Joe on tour, Cameron on tour as well, the rapper Cameron.
How'd you get into this?
Basically went to college for music, interned at different places, moved to New York around 1997, 98, just out of school.
What school did you go to?
University of Miami, and Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale and University of Miami. I went to both schools. Associates from one and my bachelor's from the other.
So you say you majored in music. What kind of music?
At Art Institute, I have my associates in music production and business, and then from University of Miami, I have my bachelor's in communications from the music business program that they offer there.
So how do you like being an agent?
It's all right. It's stressful. It's sort of a lot of stress, a lot of hours that you're working, and you're sort of like, I always say rolls downhill, and so you're always catching it at the third stage of things.
What do you find to be the most stressful part of that job?
I think dealing with artist management and things like that, and that's the stressful part of once you get things booked and have a tour ready to go, you still have a lot of egos to deal with and things like that, where I have had artists that just, aren't happy with hotel rooms and go home, or things like that. Yeah. So you have that part, and then the other aspect of, chasing down these promoters and things like that to make sure the contract is properly executed and things. So, that's sort of a headache, because you have a lot of what ifs that can happen before something happens. It's the only business that I know that once somebody contracts something and says they're going to do something, they actually sometimes don't do it.
Let me ask you a question, Kirk. A question that I've asked performers before, but I'm sure you as an agent are going to have a little different spin on this. What's most important, a great performance or a sold-out show?
I'm gonna say a great performance, because I know in my heart that I've played to plenty of empty rooms and I still feel good, after a great performance. And I've actually had sold out shows and not felt so good about my performance. So I'm gonna say a great performance.
I think the two are the same. I like to sell out an arena and give a damn good performance. That's what we do. But however, if there's 5 people in the room and I'm performing, I'm a professional, I still give it 100%.
If you can't pay the gas in your van, if you can't pay for the hotel bill, if you can't put food in your belly,
All right. That makes a lot of sense.
then you ain't gonna make it to the next show.
To me, a sold-out show means a great performance. It brings it out in us.
While a sold-out show is wonderful, and it's nice to have the people, nothing really beats a great performance. I think some of our best shows have been, or our performances, have been in our rehearsal studio with nobody there, honestly. And we know it, because we were there, and we were like, that was the greatest time we ever played that song. And Did anyone else? No one heard it? Nobody? Okay, well, that's okay, because it was good for us.
That's, I'd say, to the artist, a great performance. To the promoter, a sellout.
To you?
To me, a sellout. A sellout means more than a great performance, because a sellout then means that that artist has some sort of foothold in that marketplace that we can now go revisit and build upon. Because a great performance is good, but a great performance with nobody there isn't going to bring anything else. A great performance or a sellout show that's a mediocre performance, people are still going to come back if it was sold out and mediocre over the amount of people that were already there pre-existing. And then you can go back into that market and ask for more money because you've had a sellout, and that builds the caliber of the artist and the price of the artist.
Another question. A lot of up-and-coming performers are looking to find bookings in, let's say, a club that's happening, a venue that's happening, but they run into a resistance because the club operator wants to know, why is it that why is it so hard for them to get in there? The club owner wants them to sell tickets, I guess, but why do you think it's so hard, and how do you get around this situation?
With clubs, like I see that happen in a lot of towns, like New York, for instance. It all depends on your draw, because a lot of venues, they want to make sure that if they're giving up their room to somebody else, they have their overhead that needs to be handled and taken care of, i.e. the bartenders and things like that. And the way around that is usually if there's another band that is drawing in and maybe you're friends with them, having that other band get you onto that date, get you in front of those people, so next time those people may be fans of yours. The other aspect of is doing a call to action that we call in the industry, which is a fan call to action, which you see a lot on the internet where groups say, hey, please go out and do this for us, go out and do. You have to start and do that. But
in other words, you're asking people to come and see you.
Come and see and help support you. But in order for a band like that, it's you have to start doing your own little shows, and then building up from 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, then bringing that to the venue that you want to play at, and then saying, hey, we've built ourselves up from 20, 50, 100 people, from playing basement parties to this and that. Now we're ready to play your 300 capacity room.
So in other words, you're saying cover all the bases, and then if you're doing it right, you can expect to get a better return down the line.
Yeah, you're going to get return on your investment. And what bands don't do is that they want to skip and jump through things, and you can't really do that. And a lot of bands these days don't understand that you have to put all that work into it, those little steps to get the huge reward at the end of the game. A lot of people see these overnight celebrities that they think, but a lot of these people are 5-6 years at work of developing themselves until people take notice, and people may think, oh, they've been around for 2 years, but no, some of these groups have been working 5, 6, 10 years just to get themselves noticed.
So in other words, before you would sign a new performer, before you would sign a new act, you would want them to at least come to you with something that they've already created themselves.
Yeah, well, with myself, I usually don't deal with any acts unless they're signed and there's a label behind it, just because at the level that the agency I work with, it doesn't make sense for us to take an unsigned act out onto our roster and then have to develop them with no support, because it's sort of a double-edged sword, and people understand that there's smaller agents that develop groups and then would them sell them off, or bring them and present them to bigger agencies once they get to that certain level. But I get calls like that from up and coming groups, hey, can you represent me, this and that, but there's really nothing an agent can do for anybody when you get to a certain level on the national level, unless you have a record label and some muscle behind you and a good team behind you. Okay. Because then it makes it worthless, because and I can go out and call Live Nation and be, hey, I have so-and-so, can you put them on a show? They're going to do their research, find out that there's no ticket sales, there's no album sales, there's no radio play, there's nothing on this group, and it's basically worthless. And they're not going to add somebody as an opener onto a package or a show that's pre-existing if they don't think that that artist is going to bring some ticket sales to the table. So a lot of artists, it's sort of a double-edged sword there, where you need an agent, but at the same time you have to develop yourself to the point where then an agent can be worth your while and work for you. Other than that, you just might have an agency, but you may not be working, and that's what happens.
One other thing. Usually, when you hear of a show being canceled or postponed at the last minute, 9 out of 10 times, the real reason is because of poor ticket sales. The artist wants more money, but are not justifying that demand. My opinion, a good deal is a fair deal for everyone involved. This concludes episode 2 of the Renaissance Music Review. Next, we're going to take a look at the New York music scene.